Now
Oh
let's
yeah.
talk Pokemon. The first thing are on our itinerary, which we will turn to Ian Shirley. Tell us about your first experience with Pokemon. Why are you a fan of the franchise? Where did it all begin?
Oh man. The let's see here. I could tell you about like the first time you held one of those games, first time you hold one of those cards, but it really started for me as kind of like a playground mystery, you know. I had some friends who out on the blacktop would start swapping some cards, and at this point, I don't think the show had hit. I'm pretty sure a game had hit, but kids weren't talking about it yet. And I still remember the first card that someone gave me. So one of the kids on the playground just gave it to me. In retrospect, I figured that it's something that they didn't want to hold on to this one. It was maybe not their favorite Pokemon, but I held it dear to my heart. I had a Ponyta card, little fiery horse, and it was just enough outside of the normal to make me want to dig deeper. Cut to probably a few weeks later, the whole franchise starts picking up steam. I had an after school program that I attended, and one kid who brought in a Game Boy that everyone huddled around, which is pretty interesting to think about nowadays. See a little 3-inch screen and 7, 9-year-olds huddled around the same little device there.
I
You
can
gotta climb
barely.
on someone's shoulder.
Yeah, I can barely huddle around a 4K monitor at this day and age.
But man, like it was magic because it was something unlike anything we had seen before. Like I guess I didn't have the Zelda experience growing up, so a lot of my games were still just going from left to right. And so suddenly I see this dude exploring a little town, collecting little monsters, seeing new creatures popping up, seeing that he's collecting them on his team, and it just kind of cracked my head open and made me decide that this is something I need to involve my life with. And despite my mother's best efforts to convince me that it would be a phase that ended at the here I am 25 years later.
And here we all are,
Yup.
grown adults, talking about Pokemon. It never ends. Going from when the time that people called it Pokemon and it would drive us insane.
I know people who
Still
still
drives us
say
insane.
that, and it still drives me insane.
The cultural phenomenon that it is, and you don't know the name, I think it's intentional neglect to just
gotta
say
be.
it wrong, just to piss us off,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Ian, for sharing that. What about you, Adam? What is your experience with Pokemon? Were you ever into it or indifferent to it?
I was relatively indifferent to it. For some reason, I never got into Pokemon. You know what I got into was Yu-Gi-Oh. I
Oh.
got really, really into Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and so at home at my parents' house, I have a binder, that thick of just Yu-Gi-Oh cards, a lot of them. I always thought Pokemon was cool, but it never really clicked with me and whatnot. I tried playing the games, and I just couldn't get into those games either. But the TV show I got really into, and then the one big movie where I think it's with Mewtwo. That's like the main
the
villain.
first movie.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I watched as a kid many a time. I don't remember a lick about it now, but it was sick when I watched it. I was super stoked on it. And then it sort of fell off on its own. I didn't really think about it until honestly, it was hanging out with you guys that turned me back onto Pokemon, and now it's like big in my mind again. All of a sudden, now it seems like everything just happened all at once. Now they're coming out with new things for it. They're coming out with it's like in the forefront of media again, and then you guys are talking about it all the time, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to play Pokemon now, right now. So
You must.
yeah, I might go get a Game Boy just so I could play Pokemon, or maybe a Switch. One of the
No
two.
need. You just need a Switch. It works as both. It works as a console or a handheld.
There you go. I'm gonna have to drop some money on a Switch now.
Yeah, and thankfully it's only like $300, which chump change.
Yeah,
Chump change.
I make that in a day.
Right, exactly. What about you, Louis? Tell us about your first experience with Pokemon.
Before Pokemon, I don't know if you guys remember this. There used to be like these handheld devices, a lot like these arcade games. They had fixed movements on the screen. I don't know, like it would have like basic games like Tetris, right? But you could, if you pressed on the screen, you could actually see where like all the possible movements were. And there was this one I got where you were taking care of like this little puppy, right? I think I might have been like 7 or 8, but you were taking care of this little puppy, and man, I took care. Like you had it as it was born, all the way to a big dog.
Was it a Tamagotchi?
It might have been. This was some time ago.
I think so. I thought it was like, wasn't it Neopets or something like that?
Neopets.
But it was
Yeah.
before Neopets. I remember it was called something else, but
These, like those Tiger Electronic games.
Yeah.
Remember
I
those?
didn't realize how much fun I had raising something digitally, right? So then when Pokemon came along, I was blown away. Blown away. The first Pokemon experience was on the Game Boy. So before the show, I would say that I was playing the Game Boy game. This was Pokemon Red while watching the show. So I had the experience of watching the show, role playing it too in my game, just having a great time getting into that world. And Ian mentioned something that was really cool. I remember there was no YouTube, there was no internet really. So you would talk to your friends, like your neighbors. You'd catch up with your neighbors, and then they would tell you, "Hey, have you tried this glitch out?" And then I would go back home. Oh my God, I need to try this. Hey, do you know how to catch Mew? And it was like really exciting. Like there was something new every time you talked to someone else. So definitely it gave you exploration vibes just by speaking to other people who played Pokemon. And I would say during that generation, like that was exciting. Exploring things on your own or talking to your friends, you would hear new things here and there. So
It definitely made it a lot more special. But the countless hours that I spent chasing the dragon per se with all the different special glitches and special Pokemon you could find if you only did this one thing correctly one time, I would have killed for YouTube back then.
Right.
yeah.
You know what I got? The Scholastic Book Fair in elementary school, they had a book that was like really small, and it was like 301 glitches and every cheat possible for GameCube and all those things like that. And I got those every year, every single time. So that was before YouTube was a thing and before walkthroughs were a thing. I would read these books of game-breaking glitches or hacks or even just cheat codes, you know? And I had like for the GameCube, the GoldenEye, 007 GoldenEye.
Oh yeah.
That
Greatest 007 game to date.
Yeah, man. And I remember reading that book and just seeing all the glitches and all the cheat codes that I could do for it. And I remember just demolishing my brother because I had unlimited ammo and infinite health. But it's just so funny to hear everyone talking about like before YouTube, because like it's such a part of our culture now that you don't even think about what happened before YouTube, you know?
You had to talk. You had to socialize with people in your neighborhood or
socializing in
Yeah.
COVID.
Unless you had access to books, we always threw that Scholastic book away because my parents were like, "It's a waste of money. Not giving you that, right? It's books."
Yeah.
Right? But it's all about video games.
That was our
Little did they
argument.
know.
Hey, I'm reading, okay?
I'm reading.
Yeah, right.
I'm just looking at picture, but it's reading for me.
Little did you know it was a walkthrough guide for a video game, but hey, there's words in there. I'm getting up to college level on this.
That's what I say. I could feel myself getting older, waxing poetic about, I didn't have YouTube back in my day. I had to just Google it and read some internet forums and eventually find the same information with no extra help.
But my first experience with Pokemon was experiencing it through Luis at first and seeing him play the Game Boy. And I think what boggled my mind the most about it was when they invented that cord that you can connect the Game Boy to another Game Boy and you could trade Pokemon. I thought, this is witchcraft. How can you trade? Like I would literally look at the wire and be like, do they just like send a little Pokeball through this cable?
That was literally the image on screen. You'd see the little tube and in a little bubble, a little Pokemon would float on by, and my kid
Remember
brain
that?
is just like, that's exactly what's happening. That is a perfect visual representation of what's happening here.
And I was like, that amazed me, right? And I didn't really, I was the youngest of so I got like Pokemon Red when they were already moved on. They had Pokemon Silver, and I was like, for the first time experiencing Pokemon Red because I was just low on the totem pole in our family. But when I played it, I was like, this is awesome. Hey, when do I get to catch the legendary Pokemon? They're like, oh, that's the first 150 are only in that one. I'm like, oh, it's sick though. But like I don't think I was at that level yet to really understand the game and play it well until the Game Boy Advance came out and I got to play Pokemon Sapphire. That's when I felt like I was finally like old enough to really get it. And I played it to completion, and I became a Pokemon fan from then on. And I started playing games like Pokemon Coliseum, of course, watching the anime, playing the card game. I got into Yu-Gi-Oh as well. It was around that time too.
Yeah.
Because being the youngest, and they had some pretty cool Yu-Gi-Oh games as well. But we can maybe talk about that on another show. But ever since then, I mean, Pokemon has never been absent. I kind of always followed it here and there. I could always tell you which game was out, and like, oh, it's Black and White, or it's Pearl and Diamond now. And it's even if I wasn't playing them at that time, the first chance I got to play Sword and Shield on a console, I'm like, let me play it. I want to see what this is like on a console. And man, it surprised me in good ways and bad ways, but all the while it's still an enjoyable game, and it's still timeless, a cultural phenomenon for sure that I don't see it dying off anytime soon.
Yeah, that being said, I was going to mention, for me specifically, Pokemon sort of was absent from my mind, but it was never absent completely, if that makes sense. It's like, when someone brings up Pokemon, I know that it's very still culturally relevant. I know that kids are still very into it. It's very a popular thing where, the newest generation always discovers it and then they blow up with it. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was never really like on the forefront of my mind, but it was always there looming in the background for me. You know what I mean? It's never been gone since its, creation and spawning. It's never been gone from media.
Yeah, and it's done a really good job of reincarnating itself with every generation that has come. So it's constantly breeding a new fan base, every generation. It's amazing. But with that, let's get right into our Q&A. We're going to be focusing primarily on Pokemon Shield for this, or Sword and Shield for this segment. But first, I wanted to talk, what was your favorite Pokemon game before Pokemon Sword and Shield? And this is not just the Game Freak Pokemon games. This can be any of the other ones like Pokemon Snap on the N64, or the Pokemon puzzle games, Pokemon Battle, or the ones where they're a little more in the obscurity, not as popular, but still out there. What were your favorite Pokemon games to date? And if not, Adam, if you don't have one, you can let us know which one has piqued your interest enough to be like, maybe I'll try that out.
You know what? Just based on that question right now, I want to say Pokemon Red because you have mentioned it so many times in this interview so far. That's the only reason.
Right.
I could not tell you a single Pokemon game, if I'm going to be honest.
I think that was the first one that was released, right? Was it Pokemon Red or Pokemon Green?
Yes.
Yeah, was Red released first, or was Red and Blue released together?
Well, we all have the internet.
Red and Green were released together.
Red and Green.
There you go. Yeah, did we ever get a Blue? I think Blue came out with Yellow, didn't it?
Blue came out in America instead of Green because the developers thought that Red and Blue would sell better in America, being more American colors.
Oh, did not.
That's
know
a very interesting fact, and I'm gonna have to take your word on it because you could say anything and I'd believe you.
Right. That's why he's our resident expert.
Yeah.
None of us knew that except for Ian. So speaking of Ian, why don't you let us know, what's your favorite Pokemon game?
All right. Absolute favorite Pokemon game? I would probably just have to go with all of them. So let's narrow this down here. I'm gonna go at this in a 3-tier phase here. If I had to say the one that meant the most to me, I would have to say Pokemon Emerald. It was the 3rd generation. It was the game that combines them. Red and Blue had Yellow version, Gold and Silver had Crystal version. There was always kind of like the director's cut that they would put out every generation for a while.
I have a question for you,
Yes,
resident
sir.
expert. So I don't understand what the color system has ever meant. Is that just sort of basically like 1, 2, 3, or is there like a thing with them?
Not really. It's more just titling it for theming sake, because it only, the color system was only really the first 2 generations. Since the game was always based around trading with other people and of course selling more copies, they would design 2 versions of the same game, which were the same characters, same story, but variants in which Pokemon you may encounter. And then you would trade between the 2, between your friends.
So if we had 2 Game Boys, you had Red, I had Blue, could you put Red Pokemon on my Blue version and trade them?
Yes, we could trade for ones that were only available in our games. So it's like to complete Pokemon, you had to have friends. You had to know people who had the other ones. You could not do this by yourself.
And that's
That
what
is actually incredible.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It made it very exciting to play with your friends for that reason, because you would be able to transfer over. And if you had different versions, I don't know if it was big for blue and red, but if you had different versions, sometimes you could catch different types of Pokemon. So to complete your roster, you had to trade with your friends.
Yeah, and
Catch them all.
I think the didn't it also it changed the legendary Pokemon you would encounter at the end. I felt
In
like
some.
in or in Ruby version you would encounter that huge like lava looking dude. I forget his name, but in Sapphire you had that whale, that blue whale. You can correct me on the names.
Groudon and Kyogre. I can anything, and just chime in. I'll give them for you.
Yeah,
I am genuinely blown away at that. Like, I don't know why I didn't know that before, because it feels like something that everybody should know, but I just did not know that. And I now need to play these games.
well, get one.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. And then get yourself a friend, or in my case, a little sister's Game Boy that being unused, in which you can just put it in and link up with yourself. And
So you can just play both games at the same time. Right on.
That's cool. So yeah, so Pokemon Emerald.
Pokemon Emerald version. Oh yeah, that was a third generation. So I think that was probably the first time Pokemon started to dip a little bit in popularity. But it was also the first next generation jump that it really made. It was on the first time it was on the Game Boy Advance. Not that generation was, and it was also the first time that the game added a ton to do after you beat the game. There was this thing called the Battle Tower, which was basically just battle over and over and over until you get your butt kicked. Like just almost no stop, just to get the high score, to see how many people you can beat before you just completely tap out. And so it was the first time that after catching everything I wanted to catch, maxing out my team, getting every gym badge, defeating the Pokemon League, doing everything the game designs for you to do, I had something to just keep me going, So that was I like to brag about my game time clock on that one, because if I was ever to track down that old cartridge, it would say that I put 900 hours into that game.
Awesome. That's stuff of legends.
But I will admit to most of that being falling asleep playing it. So that's
Yep.
I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear that last part
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
think that you are 900 hours into Pokemon on one cartridge.
on one cartridge. Yeah. Other than that, the one that sparked the most interest for me was probably Pokemon Snap, because that introduced to me the idea that it was more than what I was being presented in the little pixel graphics on my screen. That it made it all real to see 3D renders of the Pokemon running around in their natural environments. Say N64's natural environments, so just flat triangles with trees on them. Yeah, but that was the one that that brought out of my imagination what I thought I was looking for. And then the last one that means the most to me, honestly, and it feels like a weird answer to being such a fan, but it was Pokemon Go. And that was because
I played that.
there you go.
That I played.
Yeah, that one it reignited a dying flame for me. And I'd say that was that would be it. I had played the last couple that had hit the 3DS before that, and it was definitely something that I could see myself fading away from. And I was like, in a few years, I'm probably going to be done with this. I think it's they're going to continue making it for kids, and I'm just going to have to walk away and let them have it. And then they put it on my cell phone and made me pay $20 a week to get more items to throw at Pokemon, and that I could get down at the pier, and I'd be like, well, I'm full on board again. I get to act like an adult addict and play my favorite childhood games.
And it's socially acceptable. Yes.
Exactly.
Because you're exercising. This is good for your health, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
no, I definitely wasn't driving around town.
No,
Only
no,
exercising.
right.
And
Only, only walking.
I have a memory too of when we would take our students out to go Pokemon Go hunting, and it's funny because we were going there, for our own pleasure as well. We were enjoying doing this, but it was hilarious. So we got to this Pokemon raid, which was an area next to our work, and then there was a gym there, and we were going to check it out. It was trying to remember if it was Mewtwo. It was definitely a really powerful Pokemon. And so we're going there and we're just hoping, like, I hope there's people there. And then we see like a sea of adults, not kids, adults, just a bunch of adults. And we're thinking, could it be that these guys, oh, they definitely were. And they were out there like, oh, are you guys joining in? You joining in? And I was just blown away. It was totally like people from our generation who were kids growing up with Pokemon, playing Pokemon as adults, and so into it too. People were pulling in with their cars on their phones and like rolling down their window. Hey, are you guys all getting in? It definitely, I agree with Ian. Pokemon Go has its own like experience.
I'm sure that makes it really special and like normalizes it for kids nowadays, because I remember, my mom having to juggle the news segments of whether or not Pokemon was gonna, invite demons into my soul. So
You're not alone in that. That's something that's pretty amazing. I didn't even think about Pokemon Go. It truly revolutionized Pokemon. It kind of broke that barrier of Pokemon is its own world, and then you see them in your backyard. Not only do you see them in your backyard, like on a map, you see them through your phone in this augmented reality, where you're just like in my backyard.
I was gonna say it's so interesting to see for me, who I've never played Pokemon. I mean, I played Pokemon Go, and I was gonna say, hearing your anecdote about that reminded me of like I downloaded Pokemon Go because it was revolutionary when it first came out, and I was like, okay, this might be the thing that gets me into Pokemon. It didn't, but I played for a while, and me and my buddy we hopped on our longboards, grabbed our iPhones, and we skated from Carlsbad to Oceanside and back at like probably 2 a.m. because we were just doing that and just catching Pokemon. And I remember being in Carlsbad and this guy was like, yeah, there's some skeleton type Pokemon over by the Oceanside Pier. And we skated from Carlsbad to Oceanside to the pier to go see if we can catch. I don't even know if that's a thing. I just remember them telling me about skeleton types and I was like, whoa, what is that? I got to go catch one. Yeah, I was just blown away by that. But yeah, and then that was something I was gonna say about Pokemon Go. Oh wow, it's evaded me. But that was the thing that bridged the gap for me of like, this is something that I'm actually kind of interested in. It's not just this game anymore. It's like this is revolutionary technology, revolutionary for games, and it's Pokemon on the forefront right there. So I thought it was fantastic. So I guess before you talking about that, I was like, oh, no Pokemon game has ever affected me. That one did. That one definitely did.
I think that every adult gamer goes through that at some point where you, especially for us when we grew up when it was considered more of a childhood hobby, that you go through that moment of you start to second guess whether or not this is still something you need to be doing as heavily as you are, and to just see the world outside of my hobby embrace that franchise the way it did with Pokemon Go, like that. I don't think we'd have $500,000 Charizard cards taken over YouTube Live if it wasn't for Pokemon Go. Like, and just making it normal. Yeah,
it's very validating as well. I think that's the sickest part about it is this thing that was not necessarily taboo, but video games and games in general were like a nerd thing. You know what I mean? And now they are the forefront of media today, and that's the best part about it. And it's almost validating all of us, who grew up gamers and grew up not necessarily outcasts, but just with different hobbies. We weren't the football players. I can't speak for you. You might have been, but I was never. Yeah. But like that was never the jock or the football player in high school or anything along those lines. I played, Pokemon Go and did all those things. And it's super validating to see it take over the forefront of media and hear actors say that, the best stories in the future are going to be told through the lens of a video game. I think that's just so incredible for me.
We are seeing it now.
Oh yeah.
But Louis, let's talk about you. What is your all-time favorite Pokemon game?
So it's going to be 2 experiences, right? As experience as a young child, it was Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow was a very special game to me because it was the first time you could walk around with a Pokemon outside your Pokeball. I mean, it was Pikachu. I think Pikachu was the only one you could, but Pikachu was my Pokemon. So that's why it was very special to me. And like I said before, following the cartoon show, playing the game, I really just immersed myself in that world. Like I was Ash, right? I would even name my character Ash. And what was amazing to me is just going through that storyline, just remembering the episodes and implementing them in the game. But now my other experiences, which has been really special, is I've been playing Pokemon Shield, with my son. And it's my son's
Oh,
first
wow.
experience playing Pokemon Shield. And it's really cool seeing how much he got into it. He had a semi-interest in Pokemon. It wasn't something that like he really went out of his way. He did like the classic cartoon shows. He didn't watch the newer ones. But I tried to see like maybe he'll like I did push him a little bit just because it was something very special in my life. And it wasn't until he played Pokemon Shield full run. And it's funny, he didn't ask for the game. I had just bought it and I was playing it. And then he's just watching. He's watching me play the game, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, can I play?" And I was like, "Yes, you can." And so he plays the game, and before I know it, like he already passed me up, beat the game in a week, right? And he wanted to just collect all the Pokemon, which was really cool. Like me now, like I'm not gonna collect all of them. I'm just gonna do one playthrough. But just seeing him, like I was remembering what it was like for me. I want to catch all of them, like all of them, Dad, and asking me about the expansion pack and just wanting to keep taking it further. So I would say that Pokemon Shield is special to me now because I've been watching him play it, and then just going back and forth, just watching his progress. He's watching my progress. It's like a time machine. It's awesome.
It's going full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool. I come downstairs. You know, my kids are old enough to where they can kind of just turn on the TV and get things going, and it's the weirdest but coolest thing to wake up in the morning and hear the theme song of that 90s Pokemon show go on, you know, and you hear the "I want to be the very best," and I'm like, I get up out of bed on a Saturday morning and I'm like,
those are
this
my
is
boys.
right.
Those are
You're
my
like,
boys.
reminds me of my youth.
Those, yeah, and I'll watch some of them with them and like over breakfast, and it's just like you feel like all of those experiences as a kid, but now through your kids, and it's still cool. Like it hasn't lost any of its quality. It's still amazing. I still enjoy the show. I think that they tapped that formula with the original Pokemon show with, you know,
Oh, yeah.
Rocket and Pikachu, and that the chemistry between Ash and Brock and Misty, and just like it was just such a great show. It never got old seeing Team Rocket blast off again, you know. Like I don't know, it was the premise of every episode. Team Rocket was just like, and you find that they just had like this symbiotic relationship. Like at some point they didn't even hate each other. They were almost like coworkers. Like they just got in each other's way, and they would also team up sometimes because the conundrums would involve them as well. And they're like, all right, we got to work together to get out of this sticky situation. And they would always end up betraying them, and Team Rocket blasts off again.
Oh yeah, they were important to me. Same thing growing up. I'll never forget the Jesse James, and of course,
Right.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid impression too.
That's pretty good.
As someone who continued to watch it way longer than I definitely think necessary, that formula didn't really change.
Really?
Yeah. I probably stopped watching somewhere in the late 2000s, and yeah, for as far as I remember, I watched through I think Master Quest and Diamond and Pearl, and that was about the same thing. I mean, the partners that the Ash would travel with changed up, but
Yeah.
I think Team Rocket really should have been fired around the street long before that point with one main goal to steal Pikachu, and they can't do it in 15 years,
Right.
They should have been fired. Yeah, my kids recently started the most recent one where Pokemon are starting to be Dynamax. Like it's I think it's more with the current one where Pokemon become enormous, which we'll talk about that, Adam. I see that.
Yeah.
I see that look on your face. It's
What the heck
coming.
is that?
What is a Dynamax?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay, what?
We'll cover Dynamax because it's pretty epic. I think that was one of the groundbreaking things of this current game that came out. But my kids started watching that, and I'm like, it's different people. It's still Ash, but there's other people, and it does keep some of the same tropes, and that it follows the same formula of the kind of buffoon bad guys. But it just didn't hold my kids the same as the classic one did. Even though that's available, the graphics are better, everything looks better. They still prefer, without my influence, they're watching the Ash Ketchum with Gary and Brock and Misty, and like it's just something timeless about it.
They had something perfect and completely nail on the head about the original series. you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, it was the theme song. I'm convinced.
It really is. The theme song is something that me, as not a Pokemon guy loves the theme song. One of my favorite bands at Warped Tour, and I'll never forget it. They're called Issues. They opened their set with like a metal version of that song, and the whole
Fantastic.
their whole stage setup was Pokemon themed. The drum kit was like Pokeball themed, and like they had like different things on stage, and they opened with that, and I was like, that was badass. That was so sick.
They should have played the 25th anniversary concert. That would have been awesome.
That would have been tight, dude.
All Pokemon themed. That'd be really cool. Going back to the question, I think my favorite Pokemon game of all time was Pokemon Coliseum. And again, I wouldn't say it was particularly the quality of the game, or I think it's the experience of, it was the first console that I ever owned was the GameCube. That I could say was mine and mine alone. And then I played Pokemon Coliseum, and it was just so different, yet it kept a lot of the same elements, and the animations were different. The character was different. The world was huge. I loved just the ability to travel around. And the map was, you could see it from the third person perspective, but it wasn't an overview. It was more like straight in front of you. And I just remember really enjoying the game and just how the battle looked, and it just changed my whole, I'd say it reignited the flame of Pokemon, where I was like, this is something really special. This could really change how Pokemon games are made, and how the battle sequences can really be different, because you kind of see your character, they move a little bit, and it makes the other character move a little bit. And as you get older, and there's just so much more out there that's more interactive and more just stimulating to your senses, that kind of will get old. But then when they progress, and now you see like my Pokemon is literally making contact with the other Pokemon, and you see the flame blast that you see from the cartoons being animated in the game, like it just immerses you in a different way. The magic really captures you, I think, or at least I can speak for myself. It captured me more when I could see it all play out in a way that was just more stimulating and just looked better. And I really felt like I was in that world, being a 10-year-old kid when I played it.
And this was on the Nintendo 64, right?
No, Pokemon Coliseum was on the GameCube.
Oh, GameCube.
It was developed by Genius Sonority. They developed kind of the more non-typical games of like the mid 2000s, early 2000s era of like Pokemon games. It's the best pick, I think. But the Game Freak games, it was definitely Pokemon Sapphire, because I just remember that being super special. I don't know why, but I think that was the first game that I actually got the bike and I got to use it. And I just felt like the map just looked so much better. The characters looked better. The Pokemon were cooler.
Did Sapphire and Emerald come out around the same time?
Yeah, so it was Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Those were the ones that I remember. Like, I don't remember any of them before that, but I remember specifically when I was, either elementary school or I had to be in elementary school. I was not in middle school. Elementary school. And I remember hearing, this is Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Sapphire, Pokemon Emerald, and I just remember not understanding the reason that they were called Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby. So thank you for clarifying.
Now you know.
And now I do know. But I just remember hearing about them all the time, and I remember other kids would play them, and I was I don't even think I was allowed to play video games at that age, or maybe I was. I don't remember, but I wasn't playing those ones.
Yeah.